Hello, this is Nicholas Tanek from YourKinkyFriends.com. I have a wonderful, an amazing, a, a legend guest tonight. Seriously, see this? See like magazines like this? Yeah, yeah. These things that adult bookstores cost tons of money. Spend tons of. Oh my God, love them. She's been all a part of it. She's been all a part of that. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about sissification. We're gonna talk about chastity. And you know what? We're gonna talk about good causes too, like animal welfare. We're gonna talk about it all. Please welcome from Centurion. Is that the way you can pronounce it?
Centurion.
Centurion. Please welcome the absolute wonderful, the legendary Hanna Rodgers. Say hi.
Hi, everybody, and hello, Nicholas.
All right. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
About myself. Oh goodness. Wait, that's not on the question answer prep sheet. I have to know myself. Well, I am the current owner of Centurion. I've owned a few businesses before. Sorry, I've got a cat here in the office. So I'm a small business owner, entrepreneur. I'm very creative. I have a background in, photography a little bit, web design a little bit. I've done visual display work. So I really, I'm actually a very hands-on kind of person. Also, love sewing and crafting and love my animals. I have my office kitty here. And I don't know, other than that, we'll probably get into more in the interview. I mean,
Okay.
Currently single. I'm a cat and dog mom.
What's the name of your cat?
The office cat is Starburst.
That's good.
Cats at home are Squeak, Sheldon, and Smudge.
And, oh, wow, you got a bunch.
Yeah, and then the dog is Shay.
Okay. So you've been a kinky person, obviously, because of what you're into. But so I'm always interested in the first time coming out as a kinky person, whether it's just with one other person or at a party or a dungeon. What was your first time?
Well, it's kind of funny because I actually don't consider myself a very kinky person. And it's amazing because I own a fetish company. And I don't think I've ever really had to come out as a kinky person. I've come out as owning a kinky business. So I don't know if that's quite the same. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of a tough question.
Okay, we'll get back to that. We'll get back.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced some kink, but it's not your usual entree into the world, I would say. Let's put it that way.
A lot of the kink you do is making content that is sissification related, which is men dressing as women, getting into chastity, and femdom, basically.
Yes. Yes.
So, how did that get started?
For me, or in general?
Both.
Both. Oh gosh, I mean, I'm sure the kink or the fetish goes back probably hundreds of years. I would imagine. Sure. So, for a Centurion, I think, I spoke with Jerry Lee, the founder, a few times before he passed away, which is just a couple of years ago. And he was a cross-dresser himself, and he was very submissive. So I believe that it was a kink of his own. And he just had a very interesting business mind. Like, he kind of, at that time, at least, in the early days of Centurion, which is almost 50 years ago, well, literally 50 years ago, probably 10, 15 years into the business, he saw this kink and fetish as like, wow, this is becoming really popular. And as a business, using his business mind, he's like, well, I'm going to tap into that market. And hence he started doing catalogs and magazines specifically geared towards that fetish because he saw how huge it was and how popular it was. Plus it tapped into his own little kink. So I know he indulged himself. He's modeled in a lot of the catalogs. He's modeled the chastities, the piercing chastities, and he had the tattoo on his butt, the sissy slave, as far as I know. So yeah, he was full-fledged in. Personally speaking, I mean, I'd never heard of it before I bought the company. I mean,
How'd you get involved?
Pardon?
How'd you get involved? I mean, like, you just don't. Like, how does someone just like buy a publication company that deals with sissy sluts?
Well, you might be surprised because you literally can just go and buy one because the business was listed just on a business broker website, and I work. Well, I'm in Reno, Nevada. I was working at the university here in town, and I had an administrative job, and it was a great office. I really loved the people, but it was a dead end job basically. So my family knew I wasn't happy there, and so they kind of all rallied and got together, and we were like, well, like, let's chip in and let's buy a business. We can give you some money, like, personally, and we'll buy in with you.
So your family helped you buy this business?
Yes, my family it's a shareholder. We're incorporated. My mom and my brother and I are owners of this company.
Because I was going to ask. I was totally going to ask. I was like, well, what does your family think about this? So, oh no, they're invested.
Yes, they are. And my mom is actually majority shareholder. Not me.
Awesome. That's cool.
And so I mean, we literally, and my sister-in-law was the one that, she was kind of reviewing a website where they had businesses for sale and looking at a couple, like, oh, hey, we should check this one out. It was like erotic publishing or adult something. And I was like, screw it, why not? Let's go check it out. Because I mean, I've got a really open mind. I don't know anything about what they were talking about, but I was curious. And so lo and behold, we go take a tour and meet Jerry and see the company and everything. It was funky. It was just fascinating. And so it was the mail order division of Centurion, and he did have a retail store like in the front of this building. It was a huge building. But it was just this backside that was, doing the mail order, doing catalog magazine publishing. And with my background in photography, and I'm a decent writer, not professionally, but I can write a decent essay and write a little bit. And I just was kind of like, shit, yeah, this looks super fun. It was fascinating stuff. Everything about it just was crazy.
Now, with the rise of digital media and the unfortunate kind of death of print media, how has that affected you? How has that affected your company?
Well, it's been tough for sure. I mean, most of the customers that I have still are very dedicated to print media. They're not online, and they never will be online. And I love it too. I personally would much rather read a book,
Yeah, I'm a physical book person myself.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love it. And I like the quality of photographs, like in a print book or a print magazine, generally speaking. And it just adds a little more weight and gravitas to things, I guess, because things online, they just come and go. It's so easy. It's just like, there's so much content. It doesn't seem very special. But anyways, but yeah, I mean, all of the costs have gone up, obviously paper costs, transport costs, just everything about trying to print something and mail it out is just getting more expensive.
Especially overseas. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, our customer base is kind of shrinking because, most incomes aren't really growing as fast as all the costs are. And then it takes time to produce things like print media. And so when you spend a lot of time doing that, it's harder to, segment a little more time to be online, promoting yourself and creating content specifically for websites and, especially websites, unfortunately like Facebook, where so many people are, yet the content is so limited, like in Instagram, which is very visual. And I have a very visual company. There's a lot of artwork and, visual stuff that I just can't share because it's too graphic. And so I'm very limited.
I gotta cover the chastity thing here. So, but like,
oh, okay. I'll make sure to if there's anything too explicit on my covers. I have a few covers too, but
it's all right. It's good. No. We got the banner covered. You gave me enough footage. So but like, something like this, which I find interesting, is people had to, men who were into this fetish had to kind of secretly go to these places, to these bookstores and stuff like that, and find it, and they'll pay up to $50 for just one magazine. And,
right.
And even on the cover of that, it says it's $20. You know what I mean?
And that was probably printed 20 something years ago.
Yeah. So, okay, let me ask you this. When it comes to sissification, what is it that you think attracts so many people? Let's talk about men first. What is it that you think? I mean, I know why it attracts me, but what is it? Do you think that how it attracts men? What is it about it, that kink?
It's really complex, and I've thought about it a lot, and part of me has no answer, because I'm kind of like, I don't know what would attract a man about this. But then on the other hand, I do understand it on different levels, like on I think in like an emotional level. I think it allows men to give up control, to basically just try something completely different, like that. I mean, again, I'm not a man. I don't really know what it's like to live in the world as a man. I know what it's like to live in the world as a woman, but men have a lot of pressure on them. They have a lot of expectations of masculinity and of like responsibilities, and generally speaking, I'm just saying this is all very general, but and anything that's seen outside that norm is frowned upon. So I feel that men probably feel very constricted and very controlled by society in essence. And so, sissification is like this ultimate release of all of that, physically and emotionally. And then physically, like the feeling of satin, of feeling of lace, the feeling of nylons, all of that stuff. I mean, even as a woman, it affects me. Like if I put on a pair of stockings and, a very nice satin or silk negligee, whatever it is, I mean, your whole concept of your own body changes. Like physically, everything feels different. It feels more sensual. And that's like women, we get to do that, and whenever we want, and it's okay, and we're encouraged to do it. But for men, it's just totally discouraged and judged, and for some strange reason, I don't know why, but so I think that physically it feels unlike anything else.
All right, let me ask you a question. Satin or lace?
For me personally?
Yeah.
I would probably go more satin.
Yeah, me too. Okay.
Or
So,
silk. Silk is very nice. Satin, like satin silk.
okay. So, chastity plays a large point, a large part of the whole sissification role.
Hmm.
Um, um, why do you think that is? Seriously, I never thought I'd be into it. Man, the kink rabbit hole goes very, very deep. Um, it really, really does. Like, I never thought I'd be into it, but like, why do you think people are into it? Why like, what do you think?
I think that, I mean, when you get human nature, when you get down to human nature, I mean, what our most base instinct is to reproduce and breed. I mean, we're sexual beings. I mean, there's no denying it. And that sexual urge is stronger than almost anything. I mean, maybe I guess there's food and water, but even we can go without that for a while. But most people just don't want to go without a sexual release for very long. So, it's such and it's especially for men, it's just it's another,
Oh yeah,
sign of
I'm on it.
virility and masculinities, sexual release and blah blah blah. And but so I think that because it's so high up, as this concept, that it's the ultimate thing you can give up or have control over. For a woman to control a man's erection or his masturbation habits, I mean, that is the ultimate control you can ever have over a man, because that's the thing he wants the most in the world, generally speaking. Again, I'm speaking very general. I know not every guy is
No,
into
no, of
that
course.
or
Do you have
driven by the
anybody?
same motivation.
Do you have anybody in chastity right now?
I don't. Not right
Okay,
now.
all right, okay.
I've
Um,
thought about that though as like a service. Like maybe we should be a key holding service. Like we'll sell you the chastity and you send us the key back and you get it
maybe
if I decide you're good enough
you'll
to
get
get
some free
back.
magazines.
So and a few people have asked me, but I don't, feel like it needs to be a little more nurtured relationship. Like I can't just lock somebody into chastity and then forget about them and not check in on them, and then
It's
I
a
just don't have time to check in
responsibility.
on people.
It's a total responsibility.
Mm.
And okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about was, which I didn't give you this question in advance. Um, like I said, for people who are into this kink, it can be very lonely because it's hard to find people. It's hard to find a woman who
Right.
who was into it and who was into femdom and stuff like that. So what advice would you give to somebody, to a man who's into this fetish but doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to start? What advice would you give them?
Starting like it as in talking about chastity or
Talking
full
about chastity, talking
nudity,
about cross dressing, talking about
just all of the above.
yeah.
Um, well, I'm a big proponent of just laying it out there. I know it's super scary to talk about, and you don't want to be judged for anything, especially something that's so much a part of you. Um, but I think that you can ask leading questions of a woman, to kind of almost get a temperature reading on like how she might react. Um, Whether it's, I mean, there's so many different fetishy, kinky things now on TV and movies that there's a lot of segues that you could take, in a way, to kind of like, oh, that guy was wearing this or said this, that's kind of interesting, and see how she responds. I also think that there's probably more women that would be open to it than most men think. Um, but I think a lot of women are also need to be kind of introduced to the concept slowly. If you're really unfamiliar with kink and fetish, and especially something as extreme as chastity or sissification, and it kind of is because of these gender roles that we're basically assigned and forced into from birth and before birth. Women are always, we're almost taught that we're second class citizens and that we're not the strong ones, and so it can be hard to kind of embrace that dominant ethos that you would need to have in order to help a guy, or at least do that role play, whether you're actually a dominant or not. I mean, even to just role play a little bit, you have to find that certain something within you. And I think it's difficult for some women. It's been difficult for me, and I've been owning this business for 8 years, and I still would feel kind of awkward trying to dominate somebody because it's not really my nature, I don't think.
Okay. So
I know a lot of women are born that way, and it is kind of in their nature. But
interesting. So let's talk about your personal relationship. Are you in a? You don't have to say names, please don't. But are you in a relationship right now?
No.
Oh, okay. Does the nature of your business, which really deals on feminization and sissification and stuff like that, has it affected dating?
Only in that I'm just really kind of busy and don't have a lot of free time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Dating.
I would think that like sissies would be like banging at your door,
Well, yeah, and I do get quite a few people kind of like, oh, well, you feminize me, blah 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 blah, and I'm kind of like, well, I ain't got time for that. You want to come over and clean my house, and I'll put you in a dress, and that's a little different story. I mean,
what I'm trying. Seriously, like me, I live with my dom. I'm like, why don't we just get a sissy French maid? Just get, they could just clean, because I live in a fucking mansion. I live in a big Victorian mansion, and I'm like, I don't want her to spend so much time to clean. I don't want to clean. I was like, let's just get a sissy maid. They'll do it for, like, they'll pay us to do it.
I know, and my animals at home, and I live in the high desert, so it's always dusty and dry and crap blowing around. Like, my house is always dirty. I need some help cleaning my house. You want to meal prep for me? I'm a busy woman. I wouldn't mind that. But it's still kind of difficult to find that right fit. I've been to some events, I've been to, meetups and munches, and, I just haven't really clicked with someone that way.
Let's get out of
And that's a whole other discussion, I think, or we can get into it right now about people that get into kink and BDSM.
Let's get out of kink for a second.
Okay.
Animal welfare. My dom is a vet tech, so like she really cares for animals and stuff like that. And you have a bunch of cats and stuff like that. Tell us a bit about your work with animal welfare.
Well, and so I grew up in a pretty rural area, so I've had animals. We had property, and we always had dogs and cats and different. We had ducks and everything. So I've been around animals my whole life, and so I've always been connected. And, I'm self-avowed, crazy cat lady. I've always basically had a cat of my own. And there's just something, I don't know, I'm just really, and it could be a past life, an Egyptian, I basically worship cats. I mean, and because to me, animals, they have no voice of their own. They rely on us to care for them and feed them and get them medication when they need it. And it's just, I don't know how it all came about, but it's just absolute passion of mine. And for a long time, I wanted to be a vet, and I worked at a vet's office for a very short time, basically just cleaning up and doing what, and just seeing, seeing the animals coming in and being hurt and whatnot. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm just too connected. I can't compartmentalize well enough to be able, I would just be sobbing all the time.
Especially when you lose them, when that's just
so. And so it was actually my mom who kind of started it all way back when. Like, she would foster kittens, and apparently we did that when I was younger. I wasn't even really aware they were foster kittens, but so about 10 years ago here in Reno, she started doing that, and so I was like, oh, I can do that too. I just bought a house, so I had extra space. So I volunteer sometimes at the Humane Society. It's really close to my house, which is nice. So I've gone in there and just, petting cats and answering questions with visitors. But my main thing is the fostering, fostering kittens, because and then I started becoming aware of, the feral cat populations and how the trap, neuter, return, the TNR programs work. And I just hate to see, cats, I mean, any animals, but you don't really see wild dogs running around. You always see cats around warehouses, and, there's a river here in town. There's a river walk, and there's cats that live all along there. And it just, I just hate to see kitties that don't have a home, I guess.
No, that's wonderful. I mean,
and
you know who Mark Maron is?
I do. I'm not like really, really well, but I know who he is. He's a podcaster and writer, I think.
Yeah, he's a writer, he's a comedian, podcaster. He's got he's got like 4 cats or something. I don't know. It could be wrong. Maybe 3, but yeah, he's definitely a cat guy.
It's funny. I just saw him. I can't remember what animated show it was. If it was, The Simpsons, maybe. I think that they did a spoof, and then he was on there interviewing Krusty the Clown, and there were cats around the podcast booth.
Totally, yeah. Okay, all right.
So
let's get back.
Yeah, and then I found some cats around my office here, and I've been here for 8 years, and I just found out there's like a huge feral cat population nearby, and that like I really wanted to start feeding and get them trapped and neuter, return them, because especially kittens, kittens born outside, they're just so susceptible to everything. And it's just so sad to me, because, it's not their fault. It's our fault. It's people that just dump their animals. They don't get them fixed, whatever. And so these poor animals suffer because of humans' negligence. So
definitely,
that's just where my passion comes from. And I do what I can.
That's wonderful. Okay, let's get back into kink real quick.
Okay.
So, we have a segment called BDSM on a budget, but sissies. All right. So it's sometimes corsets and French maid outfits and all that stuff. They cost money. So,
right.
Some people want to be like the sissy, but they just don't have the money, so do you have any advice for anybody who being a sissy on a budget?
Yeah, unfortunately this is one of those that's not going to be necessarily cheap. So I guess the main thing would be to check thrift stores. I mean, you can always find some lingerie, some kind of silky dresses, etc. I would say thrift stores. Halloween rolls around, and you can get pretty cheap, flimsy French maid uniforms, and maybe even after Halloween sales. I haven't been to one of those Halloween stores in a long time, but. I mean, I know they have those little prepackaged things quite a bit.
Yeah, they come in a bag.
Yeah, just little bag things. So, not your finest, but I mean, and then on the other hand, if you really are wanting to be a sissy, you want to be feminized, God damn it, you better learn how to sew. And then you can make your own clothing, or you can alter things, or, you can find some kind of cheap fabric or drapes and, make yourself skirts and whatnot. It's, sewing is not really that difficult. People think it can be. I mean, if you were wanting to make a vintage reproduction corset, then you're talking about some, harder, hard skills, but yeah, I mean, learning to sew is a great way to act like a sissy and then be able to dress like a sissy. I've seen also where you can make kind of pseudo corsets out of duct tape. I mean, you want to wrap yourself in saran wrap, but then you can use duct tape to kind of cinch yourself in and get it created. I think it's mostly, I'd have to look it up again, but I think it's mostly to make a pattern. So you can kind of pattern your body and with this duct tape and cut it off carefully. And then you basically have like the pieces that you could cut apart. And then you'd have a pattern. You could transfer that into fabric and make a corset out of fabric.
Interesting. Okay. Rapid fire recommendations, and they don't have to be kink related. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Recommend a movie.
Any movie?
Any movie.
Any movie? It's funny. I was thinking about this. One of my absolute favorites is Memento.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie, Christopher Nolan. Yeah.
Yeah, any Chris Nolan movies, actually, really. I loved Inception as well. I really liked stuff that just kind of fucks with your mind and like makes you really think. Of course, one of my other absolute favorite movie and book is Fight Club.
Oh, yeah, Chuck Palahniuk.
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually did a sequel to it. It's a graphic novel. It's not a regular novel, but yeah, I gotta check that one out. Yeah, but yeah, I like his work. All right, so we did okay, recommend a book, Fight Club. Recommend a TV show.
Oh gosh, there's so many. But honestly, one of my favorites of the last few years is Black Mirror.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Again, really kind of f's with you and just all this crazy concepts and yeah.
All right, recommend a meal.
A meal?
A meal.
I've been on a kick lately where I enjoy those chopped like kale and broccoli salads. I get mine at Costco, but you can make them at home. But
okay.
It's like a super yummy, like super healthy. They're actually really good. So I love those. And then the other thing I've really been enjoying, because I cook a lot, I love eggplant parmesan.
Yeah. I've been watching there's a show on Netflix that just came out. It's called The Chef Show. And
I watched a couple episodes of that too.
Holy moly, I was just like, oh my God. I started getting obsessed with grilled cheese. Start just making like grilled cheese and like because I like Jon Favreau and the movie Chef is good and everything. But like holy moly. The grilled cheese.
Yeah. But and speaking of that, another TV show that's amazing is Chef's Table.
Oh, I gotta check that out. Now, great.
That,
now, another thing I gotta watch for 12 hours. Yeah.
I think they only have a few seasons of it at this point, but it's more documentary style, but it's absolutely fascinating the different chefs that they talk to and their inspiration and the restaurants they create and it's just amazing. Really, really, really good. And it's beautifully done. Like it's as a documentary, it's just
is it? Okay, I gotta check that out. All right.
It's no, really, like tonight, watch an episode.
I will. Trust me, I will. All right. Recommend anything.
Recommend anything? I recommend Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Well, I went to a great concert last year, so I'm going to recommend a band.
Okay, that's cool.
The XX.
I am a huge music fan. I've never heard of them. That's interesting. Okay,
Or the Double X. I don't know actually how they do it, but they're a British band. Really trippy, kind of dreamy, kind of interesting.
Like dream pop type stuff.
Um, it's a little more techno-y. They have like
Oh,
a
I love that.
DJ guy and then a woman on guitar and a guy on bass, or vice versa. And I don't know, it's very sexy. It's really sexy music and just amazing. So I saw him in concert last year. It was really really great. But
I'll check them
yeah,
out.
I like British bands.
I'm such a fan of British bands.
Love shoegaze,
Oh
and
my God.
Radiohead and all that.
You know who the Jesus and Mary Chain is?
Mm-hmm.
I had lunch with Jim Reed.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I know somebody who'd be jealous of that. Who's a
he
big
had a cheeseburger. We talked about records and Dan Tracy from the Television Personalities. He was a great guy. He was. I got pictures of it. I got to check out my Facebook page. Yeah, he was great, dude. Cool as hell. And this is someone who, because I grew up a punk rock skater kid, and like this is someone I looked up to so much. And then it's like, oh, now I'm having a cheeseburger with him. Yeah,
the dream come true.
and it was literally just like two people, four people actually chilling out in New York. Just like, hey, what's up? Okay, all right. Final segment. This is the word association game. So I'm gonna say a word. You say the first thing that pops in your head. The first rule is this: literally say the first word that pops in your head. It could be nonsense. I don't care. There's no wrong answer. All right. So, and second, there's no kink shaming. So basically, if I'm this is off the top of my head too. All right. So if I say something off the top of my head and it's not your thing, just please don't make fun of it. Just say, not my thing.
Okay. Okay.
And then there's the jar.
Okay.
The jar.
And I have the penis.
Oh, shit.
With a chastity on it.
The jar, the jar, Tangle Blue. Oh, Tangle Blue, I love you. Tangle Blue is someone who helps out and is a massive contributor to your kinky friends. She sent me this jar. I don't know what's in this jar.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have.
Right. Yay.
We have a very absurd and weird sense of humor. So some of this is not going to make any sense at all. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. French maid.
Boring.
From someone, oh my God, from someone who puts out stuff like this, it says it's boring. Holy shit. Okay, all right, whatever.
Well, I can explain that.
Oh yeah,
it's just an overused trope, It's just, I mean, I understand it. It's been used too many. I mean, I look at it all the day. I mean, chastity is boring to me because I'm dealing with it every day.
Okay, chastity.
Control.
St. Andrew's Cross.
I'm trying to remember. Is that the cross or the X?
It's the X, yeah.
The X. XX.
Okay, all right. The violet wand.
Yes, please.
All right. The Hitachi magic wand.
Yes, please.
All right. The field, though.
Curious to try.
You know, straight jackets.
Would love one.
I have one actually. I got one for Christmas. It was great. And it's a real one too. It's not like some like fake bondage one. It's like this is like fucking from a hospital. So okay, face slapping.
Fun.
All right, wax play.
Super fun. Hot fun.
All right. The kitten dynamic.
The what?
Kitten dynamic.
As in kitten play?
Yeah.
I don't really understand it.
Okay. Let's go to the jar.
Okay.
Boing.
Boing. That makes me think of swing.
Mm-hmm. Masturbation.
Uh-huh. Is this word association again?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if this was like a topic we're going to talk about. No, okay. Masturbation. Juicy.
Okay. Cock.
In my backyard.
They're cocks. They're chickens in your backyard.
Well, the neighbor's backyard, technically. But yes, many.
Spork.
Oh, good for Burning Man.
Nips.
Pierce them.
All right. Water sports.
I'll pee on you.
Thank you.
Why not?
And finally, we've come to the end. Scat.
Scat?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's his name?
G.G. Allen.
Huh?
G.G. Allen.
No, but I saw some stuff of his at the Museum of Death. Great T-shirt. No, I'm thinking of Cab Calloway. That's the scat I prefer.
All right. Oh my God. Hanna Rodgers. Centurion.
I know we didn't even get to the little itty bitty Centurion catalog.
Oh no! Now is the time to do that. Please,
or the Centurion Encyclopedia.
Please promote
of sexual instruments. This is the oldest one I have in my archive. It's dated 1972.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of fun. I don't know. It's pretty funky, you know, but there's a great photo in here. I put it up to the camera. Whoop, sort of.
Oh my God.
I love it. I love this old stuff. And oh yeah, the other side is your
God, yeah, the
cross
old,
over here.
The old page stuff like drives me nuts.
But yeah, no, this is like, to me, it's so fascinating. This one in particular. Here's another little catalog. This one's really small because Centurion used to basically sell other people's catalogs and then sell the product out of them a lot. And this one just has so many, like, these are all bondage comics. Like, there's pages of bondage and fetish comics. And these old publications, there's one called Dressing for Pleasure. So to me, this is a really fascinating little look in the history of all of this stuff, because there used to be so many. Leather Obsession, there was a Latex Maid magazine. Shiny International magazine, Rubber Nurse. Apparently, Shiny was quite the deal. And then yeah, all these, you know, back in the day where you had all your stuff was erotic art books, including, you know, Tom of Finland. Here's Eric Kroll and all these different artists. And you just can't find this stuff anymore, anywhere. Like nobody prints anything like this. So I just thought it was really interesting. And then there was also, let's see. I saw something in here earlier. I don't know. It was just that there were a lot of different, even on the cross-dressing. Yeah, here's cross-dressing publications. You know, there were pages of them. TV Repartee, Taffeta, Crossdresser Quarterly. And, you know, it's just kind of TV Scene, Mrs. Silk, Dragazine.
Oh, Mrs. Silk. Oh, I'm a fan of hers. Holy moly.
Right. And, you know, this is like just something you just never see anymore. I mean, it just was so great that you'd have so many different things to choose from. And of course, this was before the internet. This was your internet.
Yeah.
You bought this catalog from Centurion for $5, and then you could buy all these different magazines and catalogs and shop from them.
It was so hard to find. It was, you know, and like once you got your hands on it, you're like,
right.
yeah.
It's kind of, I mean, and you look at some of these old catalogs and they'll have an ad for other catalogs from Centurion, and you're like, I've never heard of half of these titles because they're not in the archive. You know, they sold out. They didn't keep a copy. There was no list of every publication that they ever put out. I have no idea how many catalogs Jerry actually published in his heyday. I mean, over 50 years, I mean, at least 30, 35 of those were pretty heavy publication years of catalogs.
I was talking to a friend, and we were talking about how before the internet we used to find porn in the woods, and like we literally would find porn in the woods underground.
I've heard stories like that. It's so funny. Like you keep your stash out underneath the tree stump, right?
Oh, it's insane.
Oh, there's like a gold mine out in them dar woods, man.
Yeah.
Go out here.
All right, so let's end the show. And like I would love to have you on again. Please take this time to promote anything and everything you want, whether it's Twitter, Snapchat, you name it. Just promote everything you want. Go.
Ready to go. Well, we have the distinct advantage of being founded in 1969. So most of our social media is going to be Centurion 69. We have Twitter, which is at Centurion69, our Facebook page, Facebook/Centurion69. What else do I have? Oh, Instagram, Centurion69. We have CenturionOnline.com, which is our main shopping cart website. So, you know, all these books that we do have that we still can get, books and magazines. We make custom clothing. So we can make absolutely anything you desire. I have an amazing seamstress who is like Hollywood trained and can make anything. So we do custom clothing here still. So Centurion Online is like the place to go. We'll be having a clearance sale in July. So we're going to be having, you know, selling stuff dirt cheap if we want to get rid of, or, you know, we're trying to make some room in our warehouse. Let's see, what else do we got here? I'm actually looking to move into a different business area. So if anybody, you or your friends know somebody that wants to buy a fetish company, you should talk to me because we are going to be basically up for sale. And it's our 50th year. So, I mean, obviously we have staying power. We have a dedicated audience. And yeah, so and because it's our 50th year, you know, I haven't come up with anything super special yet, but you know, we'll be doing some fun giveaways and prizes. I have signed transformation copies from the first like year or two that I published the magazine. So I have about 10 or 12 issues that I got signed by the cover girls. I even got our 50th issue signed by RuPaul at DragCon a few years ago. So I have a couple like really special issues of Transformation that we'll be using as promos and some giveaways. And, I'm always available to answer questions, generally by email. So sales@centuriononline.com is my email. And always remember, it's Centurion with an IAN.
Definitely. Okay.
That's the biggest thing. People don't know how to spell it.
All right. This is Nicholas Tanek, YourKinkyFriends.com. Please support Hanna. Oh my God. She's a legend in this industry. And go to Twitter at Nicholas Tanek. Go to Facebook on Your Kinky Friends at Nicholas Tanek. Go to YKF. There's a group, and there's a Discord group as well. Just go to YourKinkyFriends.com. Just go there, and So please stay online for about 30 seconds, and let me say goodbye. But oh my God, it's getting late, my friends. My dom is calling me.
Well, you better listen to that. Heed the call of the Dom.
Yeah.
And I would just want to say thank you for having me. It was really fun, and I could blab all day, I'm sure. So if you ever want to have me back, we can look at more catalogs. We can talk about other kinks, whatnot. It's fascinating stuff. So hit me up anytime.
I'll definitely have you back. So my friends, remember the cardinal rule: be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind. Have a great night.
That's right.